And right now, I'm almost 3 months pregnant. I met this guy in New York City, and when I found out, I was pregnant. That's also when I discovered he was actually a married man, and he wasn't divorced from his wife. Alright? What follows is a story from a young woman that Martin wants to share with you all today. The young woman's name is Olivia, and this year, I'm 30 years old, and I've never been married. And right now, I'm almost 3 months pregnant. I met this guy up in New York City, and when I found out that I was pregnant, that was also when I learned that he was actually already a married man, and not divorced. He's 6 years older than me. We were both far from home, working in New York City, and he was so loving and really doted on me. It had been a really long time since I had been in a relationship. So, after meeting him, I fell so deeply in love with him, because I loved him so much. Yes, because he was a very emotionally attentive person. And because of that, I think I lost my sense of intuition in this relationship, and all the things he was hiding from me, I just didn't see them. There was one time I asked him about his family, his parents back home, but he would always get hesitant and avoid the topic. Whenever I asked about things like that, then one day I felt that something was different with my body. So I bought a test to check, and I saw that it showed 2 lines. The feeling in my heart at that moment. Getting to be a mother. I was so happy, so excited, and I wanted to share the news with my boyfriend right away. I thought I was finally about to have the marriage that I had wanted for so long, because we had been in love for 3 years already. When I brought it up with him, he just frowned and got angry. He refused to accept it. At that moment, I was so heartbroken, and I started to think, oh, why? We've been together for 3 years. So why is he acting like this now that I'm pregnant? My spirit just sank at that point, and I asked him for the reason why he wouldn't accept it. The fact that I was pregnant. All while I was hoping that this would lead to marriage. At first, he lied and said it was because he wasn't ready for this kind of relationship, and I tried to push myself to ask more questions. I kept asking to find out the exact reason. Then he blurted it out. He already had a wife and 2 children. They were living with his parents in his hometown. Yes. At that moment, it was like my heart just stopped. I was numb. It was like a huge shock just came crashing down on me, and I yelled and swore at him. I yelled at him and blamed him for what he had done, and for not wanting to take any responsibility for a situation like this. So I cursed him out. And at that moment, my spirits just collapsed. I had a headache and felt dizzy. Yes, so I couldn't say much more. I just told him to leave. I didn't let him stay in my rented room anymore. Then, before he left, he said one more thing. The best thing for you to do is get an abortion. First, for my sake, and second, for your own future. You still have to get married someday. I was just thinking so much at that time about this whole thing, and I just couldn't get my head straight at that moment. Then a few days later, he called. Yes! He called and he said, okay, keep it. Keep the baby. Because no matter what, it's still a part of me and you. But the reason he said to keep it was because he wanted a son. If this baby is a boy, then he would adopt it to carry on his family line. And if it's a girl, he would just provide financial support. Yeah, because, after all, they are still father and child. So he didn't want to do something so immoral. And when I heard that reason, I didn't want to do something so immoral. And when I heard that reason, my spirit just sank even lower. And once again, I thought to myself that I had been so foolish for trusting him so much, and for falling so deeply in love with such a heartless man. And, at that moment, I hadn't been able to make a decision for myself I didn't know what I should decide right then with this problem, because if I got rid of the baby, there's a saying, to leave it would be a pity, but to keep it would be a sin. And it's my own flesh and blood, too, so I just couldn't bear to let it go. But if I kept it, I don't know how I would face my parents. And what would I even say to my parents? I really want to, through this program, receive some advice from an expert so that I can get through this misery from a relationship where I couldn't find happiness like this. Actually, hearing this story, it sounds so familiar. So many young women fall in love with a man. He's sweet. He's hardworking. He's knowledgeable. He's thoughtful. The only thing is that you've been in love for 3 years, but you've never been to his hometown. Whenever you ask about his family, he dodges the question. But at that time, you're just desperate for love. So, as long as you're being loved, all you know is to love back. You're not thinking about anything else, are you? Meaning, I don't need to. There were fleeting moments when I wondered if something shady was going on. A 36-year-old man who never says a word about his family, his wife, or his children. And if you've been in a relationship for 3 years and there's none of that, then clearly it's a situation that has problems. To be honest, after 3 years, for him not to take me to his hometown even once, even just as a friend, without needing to introduce me as his girlfriend, or any kind of formal introduction, I should have questioned it. But it's true what they say. When people are in love, they lose all clear-headedness, and I was no exception. There were times when I thought about asking this or that, but then the thought would just pass. And in the end, it led to this. Let's not blame anyone now, because, in reality, he is the one at fault here. This was clearly a deception. He just wanted to be with me to maintain this relationship. And then, at a certain point, he would have let me go. He'd make up one excuse or another that he had to transfer for work, for his job. He'd go off to San Francisco, California, or wherever, and that would have been the end of it. Then I would have been devastated for a while. And eventually, I would have had to figure out my own path, and he would have moved on to another girlfriend, for instance, all while his wife and kids are left at home, as if there's something to keep in reserve. See, so many young men are like that. So, there's absolutely no need to wonder whether he truly loved me or not. Even if his feelings were sincere, it would never have led to anything. There's no destination for it, especially not now that I'm pregnant. To be blunt, he already has a wife and children. And he can't marry you. He can't marry you, and he'll tell you to get an abortion. You have to remember, after you get an abortion, the pain, the complications, whatever problems arise, we're the one who has to bear them. And if it goes smoothly, if you're lucky, and nothing goes wrong, you'll still have feelings for him, and he'll come creeping back. You'll fall right back into it. You won't be able to break free. And that's because, as they say one night together is like a year of living with someone. Once you get involved, it's very hard to get out. Do you understand? Once you're together, sleeping with each other, being intimate, especially if there are kids involved, he'll just show up and act a little shameless. I don't know why, but I just can't forget you. Sometimes when I'm home lying next to my wife, I mumble your name in my sleep. I wish the one lying next to me was you. And then, there you are, feeling lonely. After getting rid of the baby, you fall into a state of uncertainty again. He'll creep back into your life, and you won't be able to escape his embrace again. You just keep drowning in this affair. You'll lose your entire youth. So, you see, that's why, if you listen to him, that man, your first instinct was to get rid of it. But after thinking it over, your instinct is to keep it. Because it's your own flesh and blood. That means you're tying your own life down. You'll have a child, and he's the father. You won't be able to escape, even if you want to. You'll have to be the other woman for the rest of your life. He'll only come up to visit every once in a while, using the excuse of visiting the child, and at the same time, visiting the mother. You won't be able to move on with anyone else. there's no young man, or any man for that matter, who would get involved with a single mom, especially when there's another man, the baby's father, who comes by occasionally, bringing a few gifts from his hometown for the child, and then stays over for a day or two. So you'll end up without a husband, and no one else will dare to approach you either. You will lose your entire life. So this trap he's talking about, telling you to keep it, is for his own sake, not for yours. If it's a boy, he'll be satisfied because he gets a son to bring home. If it's a girl, he won't accept her. That proves that either way, it's his flesh and blood. But he'll only claim a son, not a daughter. He says he'll provide for you. What's that mean? He'll transfer $1 million to your account each month. But that's not what your child needs. Your child doesn't just need this and that. So you need to think this through very, very carefully. Right now, do your parents know about this? Right? My parents don't know yet. Your parents are older now, aren't they? Do you have a lot of siblings? 3 siblings. And they all have families of their own. The thing is, people from the countryside, like your parents, are often the same way. Their way of thinking is still very old-fashioned. The whole issue of getting pregnant before marriage, and on top of that, not even being sure who the baby's father is, your family will definitely. They'll judge you and try to forbid it. That's what will happen. I ask because, you know, there are some families where the parents are more open-minded, and the person themselves also thinks I'm 30 years old, and she also has a more modern mindset herself. She might say, I don't need anyone. I am determined not to get rid of my child. And she doesn't care about whether that man has to raise the child or provide support. She is fully prepared and has the means to become a mother and cut him out of the picture. Just consider it done. She might not even let him acknowledge the child or have any involvement whatsoever. I'm the mother who is having this child, and I'll raise them myself. And my parents are also kind people and not so terribly old-fashioned. Maybe they'll be a bit shocked at first because they were hoping that their daughter, working in the city, would one day have a wedding and a happy family life with a husband and everything. But now, when the pregnancy is too far along to terminate, she comes home and tells her parents, my situation is this, that, and the other. Right now, I don't want to risk my health and my life. At this point, with the pregnancy, this far along, if I get an abortion, then of course, aside from the fact that I would lose the baby, there is also a very high risk of obstetric complications. Basically, you just say that, hoping your parents will be compassionate. I'll try my absolute best. Not to sharing knowledge, personal stories, and insights on psychology, love, marriage, and family be too much of a burden on you. But of course, you can never know for sure. There will be times later on when I'm a single mom. Dear, if you become a single mother, you're going to need your parents' support. You just need to tell your parents. As for your siblings, everyone will figure it out on their own. That's the first option, to have the baby, but on the condition that you're not having it for him, you're having it for yourself. Because you want to be a mother, and you can. For me, any child is the mother's child. I will have this baby, and I will raise my child. This child is mine, and you have no right whatsoever to come back and claim that this is your child. Okay, that's the first thing. Secondly, you need to go back and take care of your own family. If you so much as come near me again, I will let your wife know. I'll call your wife and tell her. You have a husband, so keep him in check. Don't let him come bother me, because you can't afford to be attached to a man like this. They just linger, coming and going, giving you a tiny little bit, a crumb of happiness, just a scrap, and then they leave, leaving you with this immense emptiness. He comes over, he eats a meal, he sleeps with you for one night, and the next day, he goes home, and you're left hugging your child. All alone, you just sit there thinking to yourself, in this cold weather, he's at home hugging his wife and his child, while I'm just the one who was abandoned. If you decide to have the baby, that decision is yours, and it is for you. And don't think that just because you have this child, it means that for the rest of your life, you'll never get married. There are plenty of women who, after a failed marriage, with one child in tow, some even with two, still find another man who comes into their lives. Sometimes it's even a young man who has never been married before. They'll come to you if you are truly someone of value. If you are healthy, intelligent, educated, and you have a decent job. Sure, you've had a setback, you have a child, born out of wedlock, so to speak, but you carry yourself with dignity. There's nothing wrong with that. There will be someone out there who is discerning enough to see that and come to you. It doesn't mean that you will forever be a single mom. Now, for the second option. It's a direction if you decide to close the door on the past and open one to the future. That whole period just now, you've seen it was a mistake. So end it. Nothing more. Even if you have to terminate it, you have to remember this. Time is not on your side. Abortion is very dangerous if the fetus is over 4 months old. Right now, you're at 3 months. Right. Yes, that's right. You must make a decision very quickly, and after getting counseling, an examination, tests, and advice very thoroughly at a reputable medical facility, like a maternity hospital. Not just some abortion clinic that doesn't have proper, sterile, disinfected conditions. And the doctors there, they just want to get the job done. What if, God forbid, something happens there while they're handling a late-term pregnancy, and they don't have the proper equipment? They'll just deal with you, and then make a call. They'll call for an ambulance. By the time they get you to a hospital, it could be too late. Why don't you just go straight to a major hospital? In a case like yours, you're not married, this is your first pregnancy. You say, "Doctor, please check for me. If it turns out I have to terminate it, will it be safe for me?" The doctors will say that it should be okay. We will do our absolute best, and so on. Then you must remember, consider this as severing the last piece of evidence of this wrongful path. And after that, no matter how much that guy on the other side sweet-talks you, no more matter what, when you're already giving up the child you carried, then you shouldn't feel regret about anything else. Avoid the situation where you welcome its father back again. And then the same old story repeats itself. A few months later, and your life is over. Yes, I understand. Be decisive. Just this once. Put a stop to it and say, "I know now. It's best if you never try to contact me again, so that, at the very least, I can have a little bit of respect left for you in my heart. I can live perfectly fine without you." And then you will find something else. Don't cling to this relationship when you know for a fact that it's going nowhere. So, you only have 2 options. And if you take the second path, you have to be very quick, because the further along you are, no doctor, even if you bribe them, would dare to do it. And it's not a matter of whether they can do it or not. It's about your own life and health. Okay? On the other hand, if you think you can be strong, and honestly, there are quite a few these days, women who take care of themselves, who give birth and raise their child alone. It's not like every door will be closed to you. Just assess the situation, and if you decide to keep it, then just wait a little while. Then tell your parents, because at that point, you can use the excuse that it's already impossible to deal with it anymore. You can frame it that way so your parents can also sympathize and understand. The story I just shared is probably quite familiar to many of you, and I hope it serves as a lesson for young women in life. Thank you for listening.